Hello, hockey fans. This is the Minnesota Hockey Connection Show. Welcome at PACT-TV Studios. Lot of hockey, lot of snow. And I made it to a lot of hockey games in that snow. We had a guest speaker, but he couldn't make it because his street was not plowed yet, and our co-host can't make it either. Snow has caused problems. But we got a lot of hockey talk. So let's get going. I'm just going to start in the high school hockey. Duluth East got started. Hermantown got started this week. Denfield's got 3 games in. So a lot of the local teams all got started now. And down in the Twin Cities, same thing. And so, hey, high school is on its way. And before you know it, it's state tournament. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just go over the rankings I have to start this week after all these teams have finally got started. So I'm going to start with Class AA. Class AA, we got Eden Prairie, number 1, and they're 1-0. And they got a big game on Friday night. They got Hermantown, the top Class A team, coming down to play the top AA. That'll be fun, but it's going to be at St. Louis Park, not at Eden Prairie's rink. Number 2 is Benil St. Margaret. They're 2-1. Grand Rapids beat them a Saturday ago. Not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before that. But they were without their starting goalie, and their backup goalie played the first 3 games, and I guess he'll be back in lineup soon. Number 3, Rosemont. They're 3-0. Number 4, Andover. And they're 1-1. They played the number 6 team, well, number 5 now, Blake, back to back. I mean, they split. And so we got Andover number 4 and Blake number 5. And Andover's coming up here next Saturday at the Heritage Center to play Duluth East. And over the last couple years, they were in the finals for the Section 7 AA hockey, and East beat them both times to go to state. Like I said, number 5, Blake. Number 6, very nice team. That's Maple Grove. Their youth teams have been 1-2 in Bantams and Pee-wees for quite a while now. Number 7, we got another private school, Hill Murray. They're 1-0, and they got Montemita and Blake this week. So one very good Class A team, and we got Blake, like I said, number 5. So we got 3 private schools in the top 10. So number 8, a team that Duluth East played Friday night, and it's the real deal. White Bear Lake has a very nice team. They're 2-0, and they got Edina next Saturday. Number 9, this is kind of a surprise. I know they're going to be a very good team at the end of the year because they're youth, a lot of young kids. But they're 2-0, and they beat 2 top 10 teams at the time. They beat Benil, then they came back the Saturday after and beat Minnetonka. So that's Grand Rapids. And they got Roseau and Warroad at the end of the week on Friday and Saturday. So Grand Rapids is surprising me in the beginning. I think I saw this happening, but after the first of the year, get a little more experience in that and a little more chemistry. But this team is the real deal, Grand Rapids this year. And number 10, I got Blaine. They're 1-1. They lost to Hill Murray, but I wasn't at that game, but people that I know told me that Blaine outplayed Hill Murray that game. So, and they just beat Edina Saturday night 2-1 down in the cities. And so that's the top 10, but I got 5 teams to watch in Class AA. We got Edina, Lakeville North, Lakeville South, Moorhead, and Stillwater. And another thing, I was looking at the schedule here and all the top 20 teams. Seems like Duluth East plays every public school on the Class AA there. The only team I noticed they don't play is Edina. So, but if they both make it to the state tournament, they could play. But so East has a very tough schedule this year. Okay, let's move over to Class A. Class A, we got Hermantown, number one. They've been number one, two, and three for the last, 10 years. And nothing's changing. But the thing I think changed this year for Hermantown is going to be their schedule. They have a very tough, probably their toughest schedule ever. They play 13 AA teams, and they're a Class A team. So this is going to be give them a lot of experience by the end of the year, but I don't ever see them going undefeated. Number two, East Grand Forks, another nice team, a lot of young players, they had a lot of these players in the Elite League. I think there was 6 from East Grand Forks in the Elite League this year. Number 3, which started out at number 1, is St. Cloud Cathedral. And they'll be up there the whole year. And it wouldn't surprise me if they win the whole thing again. They were last year's state championship team. Number 4 is Warroad. Warroad is a lot better team than people think. They've had a few down years, but this year I think it's the real deal. They just beat St. Cloud Cathedral, and I see them being with East Grand Forks as the top 2 teams in Section 8A this year. And number 5, they're always in the top 5, and Twin Cities team is Montemita. Very nice team every year. And number 6, Orono. Number 7, Thief River Falls. Number 8, you haven't seen them in the top 10 too much, but North Branch the last 2-3 years has a decent program. And the funny thing about it is that they don't even have their own ice arena. So they have to travel a long ways to practice and play their games. So good for them, North Branch. And number 9 is Greenway. Greenway is 1-1 so far. They just lost to Tonka, the big school down in Twin Cities on Saturday, but they're 1-1, and they got Duluth Denfield and St. Cloud Cathedral this week. So that's tough A teams they're playing. And number 10, we moving Denfield up because they're 3-0, and they got Greenway and Cloquet this year. And 5 teams to watch are Alexandria, Delano, Eveleth, Little Falls, and Monticello. Then I'm going to move right over to games to watch this week. On Tuesday, December 3rd, at the Duluth Heritage Center, if you're in the Duluth area, get down there because there's a doubleheader. Lakeville South is playing Duluth East at 5:15, and Greenway and Duluth Denfield at 7:30. And this could be a semi-final game in the Section 7A, this Greenway Denfield game. They could meet again then. And then Montemita at Hill Murray on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. down in the cities. On Friday, we got Hermantown down in Eden Prairie. No, they're not at Eden Prairie. They're playing the game at St. Louis Park Rec Center at 6 o'clock. There's a doubleheader there, too. And then Brainerd plays Benil at 8 p.m. at the St. Louis Park Rec Center. Then Grand Rapids is up in Roseville on Friday night at 7 p.m. And Greenway is at St. Cloud Cathedral. So on Saturday, we got Hermantown versus number 2 Benil. So Hermantown's down in the cities playing the number 1 AA team, and then Saturday night, number 2 ranked AA team. So it's a big weekend for Hermantown. And Thief River Falls is over at St. Cloud Cathedral. Andover is up here with Duluth East at 3 p.m. at the Duluth Heritage Center. Hill Murray plays Blake, 2 top 10 teams in AA, both private schools. Then White Bear Lake plays Edina on Saturday night down in Edina and Braemar. So there's some good games this week. So get out there and try to see some games if they plow your street. And so I'm going to move right over to the Wild. The Wild are the third to last team in the Western Division, but they're playing great right now. In the last 9 games, they've gotten points. They got 3 overtime losses, but they still gain a point on each of those losses. And they're playing, like I said, really good. And right now they got Koivu that just got the shootout winning goal yesterday afternoon. He just played his 1,000th game. Mikko Koivu. He's been there a long time, and he's got his 700th point. So you do have to play a lot of games to get to 700 points. So it's good to see him get a winning goal and all these other 1,000 game and 700 point. And some of the players that you expect start getting some goals are doing it lately is Eric Stahl. He has 8 goals. Jason Zucker, 9 goals. Zach Parisi leading the team with 12 goals. And a couple defensemen that are getting a lot of points, a lot of assists. Ryan Suter with 16 points altogether. And Jared Spurgeon with 16 points. So the Wild are playing good. And this week they start out on Tuesday night. And they're at Florida on Tuesday night, and that's at 6 p.m. Central Time on Fox Sports North. Thursday night, they got Tampa Bay, December 5th, 6 o'clock. And then Saturday night, they got Carolina. So they're on the road again, 3 games. But like I'm saying, I'm going to start watching them more when they're away because they're winning. And they're playing good and a lot of chemistry. And I'm starting to like this team. I don't know why. And Stalock has been the goalie. Devin Dubnyk, I guess his wife had some health problems, and he hasn't been playing for the last 10 days. So, and good luck with that, with Mr. Dubnyk, with his wife. And in college, boy, I was down in Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. Minnesota Gophers got with North Dakota, probably used to be the biggest rivalry in college hockey, if not the Wisconsin. Maybe Wisconsin's up there with Minnesota too, with Minnesota and Wisconsin. But they played a pair of games down here in the cities, and Thursday night it looked like college team playing a JV high school game. North Dakota just killed Minnesota 9-3, and then on Friday night, North Dakota beat them 3-2. So I mean, Minnesota played a lot better on Friday night, but on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, there was probably, I'd say, at the most 5,500 fans in the stands at Mariucci, 3M Arena at Mariucci. And I'd say only 2,000 were Gopher fans. 3,500 were North Dakota fans. And we know North Dakota travels well and they love their hockey up there in Grand Forks. But the Gophers have to start coming out and supporting this team. But we'll see. But I think the North Dakota and Minnesota play up in Grand Forks next year. But it used to be one of the best series ever. You couldn't get a ticket really back in the 10, 15 years ago. It was so popular. Then Minnesota State, the number 1 team in college hockey on the coaches poll, they came up and played UMD. And I tell you what, they're the real deal. They beat UMD both nights. On Friday night, 4-1, and Saturday night, 3-1. During the Saturday night's game, that's when we had the snowstorm, and they said that 1,200 came through the gates, actual scan. So I was amazed that many would even get out because the weather was not too good that night. But I was there, and yeah, UMD had some problems scoring and that. And Minnesota State, some of the Minnesota kids had a good night. Two Elk River kids, Jaremko and Lutz had a lot of points for Minnesota State. And I tell you what, if they can win a playoff game, I can see them getting to the Frozen Four. They've been 0-6 in playoffs when they get to the regions so far in their history. So look, watch on Minnesota State. A lot of cable companies carry Minnesota State games on cable. So try to find it on your cable channel lineup. And another Minnesota team, Bemidji State, they beat Lake Superior State in their WCHA contest 4-1 on Friday night, and then they tied on Saturday night. St. Cloud State was off, and by the way, I saw Brett Larson, the coach, former UMD assistant coach, down at Mariucci watching the Gophers, North Dakota, and he says he's not too worried about his team, even though they're slow starting. They've been playing real good. I mean, they took, the week before that, they took North Dakota right to the end, and North Dakota's the number 3 team in college hockey right now. And North Dakota's playing really good. And we got a local kid that transferred up from Colorado College, Weston Machad, that's one of the leaders on this North Dakota team. And they're fun to watch, North Dakota. They play the game the right way. So next week, we got UMD over down in Omaha. We got the Gophers over at Ohio State. Then we got, we got St. Cloud State at Miami of Ohio. And Alaska is down in Bemidji State. And just going over the pairwise, the Minnesota teams, we got Minnesota State, number 2. UMD, the Bulldogs, number 13. Bemidji State, number 26. Minnesota Gophers, 35. St. Cloud State, 51. Only the top 16 teams make it to the regions for the chance to win the national championship. So looks like a lot of these teams have to get it going. The only team that looks good right now is Minnesota State. Now I was looking at this breakdown book. I've been showing this. It's one of the best high school books out there for high school hockey, and showing returning players and what they think of each team and what they predict and that. And I was just looking over it, and I was thinking who's up for Mr. Hockey so far that I like. And I'll give you 5 players. Hermantown probably has one of the leaders, Blake Biondi. He'll be going to UMD commit. And solid big forward, very good around the net. And he should score a lot of goals this year, being the type of player he is, because a lot of these high school players don't like to get around the net because of the hitting and the body contact. But Blake's not afraid of that, so I think he's going to get a lot of goals this year, and he'll be strong consideration for Mr. Hockey. We got another UMD recruit that I really like, and I think he's one of the best defensemen in the state, is Riot Kaiser for Andover, and he'll be up here on next Saturday playing Duluth East, and I'd get out there and watch him. Very nice player, defenseman. He went out to juniors before the high school season started, played at Dubuque. So watch him. I really like his game. He does it all. He can pinch, he can play defense, he's offensive. So that's a very nice player. Edina has this kid, Jake Boatman. He's a Minnesota Gopher recruit. I think he committed his freshman year, but he's a senior now, and he's a very strong defenseman, and he can do it all too. And let's see, who else do I have? Carson Reichels, Blaine. East will play them later on in the year, I think in January. And he can score. He's fast skater. He's big. He's strong. He's got everything what you like in a hockey player. And who did I have for my... Oh, last player I think I really like, the top five right now, and this will change during the season, I guarantee, but Matt Gleason, Cretin-Durham Hall. This kid will score a lot of goals. He's a Colorado College recruit. And if you watch the stats on Minnesota Hockey Hub, you'll notice that he'll be getting a lot of points, and he'll be the lead scorer, I guarantee, for Cretin. So those are my five top players to start this season and what I've seen so far. But some younger players that can go for Mr. Hockey, but I really like, there's probably the top freshman in the state is this Edina kid. His name is Jimmy Clark. So if you have a chance to see Edina, he plays with two sophomores, and they're probably the most offensive line that Edina has, this young line. But Jimmy Clark, remember that name. Maple Grove has another Kukkonen. He's only a junior, and I think he's one of the best forwards in the state. Grand Rapids has a defenseman, Pert, that's going to St. Cloud State. Brett Larson recruited him, and he's a real deal. I watched him in the Elite League, and I thought he was the best player in the Elite League this year every time I saw him. So East and Andover are going to have a tough time with if they get the matchup with Grand Rapids if they play each other in the playoffs in 7AA. And let's see, who else did I like so far? Young players. Jason Blake, that used to play for Moorhead and North Dakota, and then he played pro in the LA Kings system. His son is a sophomore, just like his dad. Fast, skilled. He's small. So was Jason. But Jackson is playing for Eden Prairie. He's the real deal too. And I see him, he could be the top goal scorer for Eden Prairie this year as a sophomore. That's how good he is. And Eden Prairie has some elite players. And that's why everyone has them number one in high school hockey in Class AA. Now, let's get the top. We're supposed to have Mike Randolph this week, but because of the snowstorm, I've seen Duluth East their first two games, and they lost 3 players to juniors early. And I'm not a believer in leaving early, but for whatever reason, these kids left. And so Coach Randolph has to figure it out like he does every year. So right now, I looked at the team. It's probably the least skilled team I've seen overall. They got a few players that might be able to put the puck in. But right now, the first 2 games, they haven't done it. But it's a long season, and I'm sure Coach Randolph will figure it out. But I think for their success this year is being healthy. If they can stay healthy, they can get some chemistry on some of these lines and defensive pair and get that special teams going, because East is always going to compete, and they always have. And this is Randolph's 31st year coaching at East. So, and I think someone said he has 642 victories. If he gets another about 70 more victories, he'll be the all-time high school coach with victories. And I know right now he has more victories at state tournament games than any other coach of all time. So it'll be interesting seeing with their schedule how they do this year. And I'm like always, he always has them ready by playoffs times. I never saw a coach that has a team more ready than Coach Randolph's team at Duluth East. But their schedule, they're tough. I mean, I'm looking at White Bear was in the top 10. Lakeville South's in a lot of people's top 10. Andover's in the top 10. Big rivalry twice with Cloquet. You can throw away the records. They got Blaine in the top 10. Lakeville North's in the top 15. Minnetonka started out in the top 10. They're in the top 15. Rapids is in the top 10 now. Eden Prairie, number 1. Moorhead's in the top 15. Maple Grove's in the top 10. So I'm telling you, it's a tough schedule. But I'll tell you what, by the end of the year, I don't care what their record is. I think I don't think no team wants to play Duluth East when it comes to playoff time. And another thing, they only had 21 goals returning from last season. And I guess only one player really played for the whole season last year. They got a lot of players that came up from JV and played maybe 6, 7, 8 games during the year, 10 games. So, but only one player returning. I've never seen a Coach Randolph team with only one player. I thought even 5 players would be low, but so he has his work cut out. And I'd get out there on Tuesday night, December 3rd at the Duluth Heritage Center, because you can watch Duluth Denfield, a much improved team. And a lot of young kids from that Bantam 8 team, one of the best Bantam 8 teams the last couple years. They got the McClures that are scoring left and right. I mean, so there'll be fun, and that should be a great game with Greenway. And then the first game at 5:15 is Lakeville South and East. So I'd get out to the Heritage Center up here north and see some hockey. Well, that'll do it for this week's show. I'd like to thank the staff, Jim and Liz at the PACT-TV studios. And get out and see some hockey, and we'll see you at the rink. Goodbye.